Right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to WJOB 1230 AM and 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana. And good morning. It is the morning call on WJOB. It's Tom Dabertin going to be here with you until 8:30 a.m. And then the town of Dyer is going to take over. But we're going to kick the day off with traffic and weather. I know a lot of you are probably a little bit tired. I am as well. I stayed up to watch the State of the Union. So want to hear from you about that and everything else. We got lots to talk about, but let's begin with traffic and weather. Um, Actually, in Northwest Indiana, looking right now at the map, 8094, I-65, the toll road, Klein Avenue, all look good. Looking across the line in Illinois, there is a slowdown at the north end of the Bishop Ford. I have a feeling that that's going to extend very quickly. There's an accident, so that could be a problem. There's also some congestion already on the South Dan Ryan, south of the Chicago Skyway. Otherwise, things don't look bad right now at 6 a.m. in the Chicago area. And with that, we'll turn the mic over to Lynette. Good morning, Lynette. How are you? And Lynette, I can't hear you.
There we go.
Lynette, are you there?
There we
There
go.
we go.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 30 degrees with highs of 39 and lows of 23. It's be mostly sunny, breezy this afternoon, and then partly cloudy with a stray flurry later tonight. Sorry. And then tomorrow on Thursday we'll be having highs of 43 and lows of 32 with periods of clouds and sunshine. And then Friday we'll be having highs of 62 and lows of 31. Should be mostly sunny, breezy, and warmer.
Lynette, you've got some new digs this morning again, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of nice. Again, as we've talked about over the last few months, WJOB is evolving, of course, as it always has in its many years of history, over 100 years. But we have some new digs back at the main studio, so I'm kind of anxious to see it. I'll see it in a couple more weeks, but I know that there's a new studio set up and a new control area, huh?
Yeah, it's a lot better than what we had before in that really small
Yeah.
room.
Yes, although that little small room is where most of broadcasting for WJOB was done for many a year. So it's good to see. It's good to see the use of the old studio building and lots of exciting things coming up in future months and years at WJOB. Did you stay up by chance to watch the State of the Union last night?
No, I did
Lynette,
not.
did you?
Nope.
I did. So I'm a little tired this morning. Donald Trump has never been known to be short, and he went on for over 2 hours. It was the longest State of the Union address, I guess, in history. And all I can say is that the whole time I was watching it, I was reminded by an influence of mine from my childhood, Father Ed Homko, who was the pastor of St. John the Baptist Catholic Church in Whiting, and I used to serve Mass with him almost every morning. And Father Honko always used to tell me, Tom, 7 minutes is how much time you have for a sermon or any other speech. He said, if you go beyond 7 minutes, no one listens. And he used to laugh and say, if you go beyond 10, you have to go by and wipe the drool off their mouth. So I think Donald Trump went on too long, but I don't want to go on too long because we already have callers. So let's go to those callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Did you watch the State of the Union last night?
Yes, I did. First thing I need to say is, they had that vote down in Indianapolis to more ways to fund the stadium over here in by Wolf Lake. I was just curious. They don't care about they're going to raise the taxes and all this to get more money to build the stadium. Are we going to have a referendum on Lake and Porter County's ballots for midterm that we could vote yes or no for the stadium? Is that going to be on the ballot, or they don't down in Indianapolis? They don't care. Are they going to pay higher taxes too, or is it just us in Lake and Porter County is going to have to pay for the McCaskies to suck our money up?
Let me answer that. And I think the answer is take a look at NIPSCO. Do they care about approving all these delivery fees and service
No.
charges and all the increases. So I think there's your answer, Mike. Unfortunately, the state of
Yeah.
Indiana,
That's the only thing I
it
want to read
sounds great.
about that.
It
But
sounds, wait a minute, it sounds great. It sounds great to say we're going to bring the Bears here, and this is going to be great for the area. But there's the devil in the details, and you just brought it up. They want to increase taxes. Go ahead.
yeah, now if I'll say till I have to die, it ain't going to happen. But I saw the wonderful picture of your dog at a baseball field. Now are you going to bring your dog to that McCaskey's field stadium if it does get built?
I'll tell you what.
Or your dog? You, I don't think your dog
Sophie
would
and Luna.
enjoy sitting in the McCaskey Stadium.
Well, Sophie and Luna have been to the site. I'll say that much. But look, if they build the Bears Stadium, as you said, it's highly unlikely. But if they do it, I guess we'll work out the details then. I'm you know
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident that they're not going to build in Hammond. I hate to say that. It sounds like
yeah,
I'm being anti-Northwest Indiana. I'm not. I just think the realities are pretty unlikely still that they build in Hammond. I
yeah.
think we're being
And
used
then
as leverage, but we'll see.
I stayed up. I stayed up last night and watched the State of the Union. Watched the whole thing because I wanted to see what was said and what's going on. But the most disgusting thing that I seen through the whole thing was all of these military, army service people that Trump had stand up and give them medals of honor and all this stuff for the military. 100-year-old Navy person that was shot. I forgot how many times his plane was shot. 44 times. All this military stuff. The dumb, stupid Democrats just sat there, would not get up and applaud the military. That made me tell you how stupid the Democrats don't care about a single person. All they care about is getting their name up there in Washington and making themselves look good. You know what? They look like the most. I watched that movie Dumber and Dumber, and I think last night seeing all the Democrats there, no, they were dumber, dumber, dumber. That was
You know what?
disgusting seeing them sit there and not stand up and applaud those military people that did stuff for our country to keep our country the way it is.
Mike, I did watch last night and I saw what you saw. There were some Democrats that didn't stand. I will say the majority did stand for the two Congressional Medal of Honor winners. They did stand for them. They didn't stand for a lot of other things. And you did see some individuals who were still seated when it came to the presentation of the two Congressional Medal of Honor winners. You had Rosen, who I think is the one you're talking about, the pilot from World War II, Korea and Vietnam. He's a true hero. It's amazing that they finally gave him the Congressional Medal of Honor. He's deserved it for many years. There's been a push on all the way back to like the early 2000s to finally get it for him. And then the helicopter pilot that took some real serious injuries to his leg and still flew that helicopter in without fail. Talk about heroics. He deserved it, and it was nice to see him get it as well. But I did see that most of the Democrats, not all, most did stand for those, but they didn't stand for a lot of other things. And I think a lot of people in the
Yeah,
region were watching Frank Mervan last night, and I was as well. And I noticed that Frank um, basically didn't stand for a couple of things. He basically sat stoically when the comments came up about transgender rights. He did stand for firemen when firemen were mentioned, and he sat for safe borders. Even though yesterday he posted that he was, that one of his top concerns is, safe borders for the U.S. And they didn't stand when safe borders came up, but the person next to him, who was a Democrat, did. So whatever. I mean, he maybe just wasn't listening at the time, but there were some Democrats that sat there the entire time. There were other Democrats that did stand up. I saw that Elizabeth Warren stood up a number of times. Mark Kelly stood up. So I don't think it's fair to say that they sat the entire time, but there were a few that did.
no. And one more thing, I'm gonna let you go. So everybody else can voice their opinions today. You know, it was on the news that there's demolition 16 houses and properties in Gary. You know, la-di-da, a promotion thing. You know, la-di-da-da. But there's a video on my page showing the inside of the Gary Genesis Convention Center. It's like a 15-minute video showing that building should be demolished. If you look at my video on my page and watch the video of the inside of the Genesis Center, just sitting there over 15 years, the chandelier, you just touch it, it falls apart. It's disgusting in there. They should have, instead of going to them places, because you go down 5th Avenue and 4th Avenue, or you go straight up and down Broadway, it's disgusting. They need to do something, you know. If you listen to that video, they said they're not worried about the face of Gary. If you listen to it, you hear this Hughes talk about it. And, you know, it's disgusting seeing the inside of that. I wonder when they build that convention center over there by the casino, is it going to look like the inside of the Genesis Center? You know, it's a shame.
Let me jump in.
If you look at that video, it's a shame.
Let me jump in for a
shame.
second. Let me jump in for a second. The Genesis Center is a building that has been fraught with problems for many years. I've toured it a number of times. I was there back during Rudy Clay's administration. He actually took me for a tour of it and showed me the problems that existed with it. I don't know that the building is worth renovating, and I believe that Mayor Melton has mentioned before it's a bit of a debacle. I mean, what do they do with a building that really can't be used because it's got a lot of problems? My guess is at some point you'll hear that they're probably going to tear it down. I don't think it's worth renovating, but that's my own opinion. I'm sure they'll have, some engineers and some consultants take a look at it to determine whether it's viable or not. But it probably long term gets torn down. So I did see part of your video. It was very interesting to take a look at it, but I think the building itself has problems.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm going to let you go, but everybody out there, it's Wednesday, and there's a certain person always says it's hump day, you know.
I just heard
everybody
from Mark.
Everybody just have a safe day, and like I always say, if you don't hear stuff from a family member, check on them, make sure all your family, friends, and everybody's doing a good day and having a good day today.
Hey, thanks so much for calling. 845-1100 is the number to call, and can't tell Lynette if we have callers. We have callers, so let's go right to those callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom. I know we got a chat board on YouTube. Can the people in chat give MX a standing ovation for not shaking Mervin's hand a couple years ago? And I took the heat for that from Kuziak and Jed and Burley. But this says it all. Okay, Tom? You could come back, he stood that, and he didn't stand for this. But I took a snapshot of Mervin. Mervin refusing to stand for putting American safety first over illegals. So he's more worried about illegals than American safety. And Trump put it out there and says, look, not one Democrat is standing for American safety. They'll stand for illegals. Now, what come up this morning, I cut a video and I snapshotted it. Mervin went up to the judges. What do you think that's about, Tom?
No idea.
I know what it's about.
Well, I know what it's about.
It's about my livelihood, okay? Those steelworker tariffs is the reason why this region works. He's probably went up to the judges. I got the video in MX Cartoons in the snapshot. He's probably, this is my own opinion. He's probably happy that what they done to the tariffs when he was shaking John Roberts' hand. You know what? That's my livelihood, That's a bunch of people's livelihoods, steel workers. And this guy said he's a steel worker. He advocates for steel workers. That made me want to vomit. And then Mervyn did not stand for that Ivan girl that got stabbed in the subway, or that little girl that got hit by the truck, by an illegal truck driver. I'm surprised, and I know he's probably all shook up. Trucker Mike didn't bring that up about that little girl. He's a truck driver. He should. I'm kind of scold Trucker Mike too. He should, if you're a truck driver and you seen that happen, he should have brought that out. But I want a standing ovation from them guys on that YouTube chat board. The heat I took, and now MX is right. And I'll let you go. I know you're going to have a bunch of callers. Okay, Tom?
Thanks so much. Before we go to the next caller, let me just respond. I don't really care if Frank Mervan stands or sits, but I do think that if you're representing Northwest Indiana and you represent the feelings and the beliefs of people in Northwest Indiana, you probably should be clapping for some of the presentations that were made. You don't have to agree with President Trump, but as MX pointed out, when they have different people that are being honored, he should have clapped. I agree with MX. In fact, MX texted me last night and said, "Look, he didn't clap. He didn't do a thing." When the story came up about the woman who was killed on the subway or on the subway in Charlotte, and I think that's where decorum requires that if you're a congressman or you're a senator, when those kinds of stories are covered, you need to basically applaud those people. That mother went through hell. She's still going through hell. You could see how upset she was. That deserves everybody's applause and everybody's support. That's just my own opinion. 845-1100. We've got lots of callers, so let's go to those callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, this is Rick. Yeah, I know one thing. The Republicans sure got their cardio in yesterday. Man, I think they must have stood up about 60 times.
And you know what? I think that the American people are looking for some they want us to be united. Okay. And so it's a tradition at the State of the Union. You bring people in and you talk about what's happened to them and you salute them. And it was nice to see that everybody stood for the two Congressional Medal of Honor winners. But I think that
Right.
the Republicans shouldn't have been alone. There were a lot of times where whether you like Donald Trump or you hate Donald Trump, you still have to show empathy and support for some of the things and some of the people that he was introducing.
Well, I don't expect the Democrats to agree everything he says, but the Democrats should learn how to show some class. I mean, they're wearing buttons, F ICE. They had that one of them congressmen, I think was from Minnesota, sitting there screaming, F ICE, F ICE. No class, no class at all. And that's what was sad about it to me watching that. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Congresswoman that you're
You
talking
really had
about,
to act like that.
well, Ilhan Omar doesn't represent, as far as I'm concerned, the American people very well. I'm not questioning her citizenship, but my point is she doesn't represent the American people very well. She was screaming. She was sitting there. You could see that some of the things that she was saying probably couldn't be broadcast on this radio station. You know what? She has been a character manufactured by the news media, and I think the less said about her, the better. I think she's just not a very nice person. She has steadfastly denied that there's been any scandal whatsoever involving those businesses up in Minneapolis. I mean, she is a Somali national, but she ought to state the facts. She ought to say, look, there was some harm done to this country. There was some fraud, and I don't support it. But instead, she just is out there, and as you said, it's F Trump, F Trump, F Trump all day, and that's wrong.
Well, one last thing. Until her and Cortez from New York, until they get voted out, then it seems to me like there are people that really care about her and want her in office. Have a nice evening.
But here's the problem that we have. So the news media keeps on promoting these people. AOC, who obviously has very little knowledge of foreign policy, given her response to questions in Europe recently. Omar, who again lies about anything and everything, and the news media basically gives them preference over everybody else. I mean, I'd frankly like to see Frank Mervan interviewed more than Cortez or Omar, but that's just me. So I'd like to hear from other people other than those two. But the news media likes to circle around them. 845-1100 is the number to call. We're going to take a quick break. I know we've got some people holding, so just stay right with us. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. You're listening to the Morning Call on WJOB 1230 AM and 104.7 FM.
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up. Apologizes. And welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people is a smile.
Thank you.
Strag Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
For over 100 years, Roofers Local 26 has been keeping Northwest Indiana dry and safe. Since 1919, our highly trained members have built a reputation for skills, safety, and reliability. With a 4-year apprenticeship and certifications in OSHA safety, first aid, and CPR, we deliver quality you can trust. When you need roofing done right, choose Roofers Local 26, protecting what matters most for over a century. For more information, visit www.roofers26.com.
Tech Credit Union supports the essential role of union labor in building strong communities. That's why we offer hassle-free banking, financial empowerment, and a commitment to your success. Save for the future, handle life's challenges, and trust a partner that stands by hardworking union members. Tech Credit Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
Introducing Powers Health, a health system with a new name and a strong legacy of caring for families in our community. One with a tradition of advanced specialized services and a vision for the future. One with a commitment to medical excellence and compassionate care. Everything we do, everything we believe, powers health.
All right, we're back. And obviously, we've been talking about the State of the Union address. Love to hear your views this morning. I do want to throw something else out there, though. This whole issue of the Bears Stadium, there is part of me that keeps on telling me that the issue of bringing the Bears to Northwest Indiana is nothing more than a ploy to take the heat off the legislature and local politicians when it comes to NIPSCO and the NIPSCO rate increases. And I just keep on feeling this, and I'm sorry, I have no proof whatsoever, but there's the old argument that if you're in politics, you need to create another issue to mask an issue that you can't address. And I just wonder if that's the case. So love to hear from you this morning about that. 845-1100. I think we have callers, so we'll go to those callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Well, I think the Democrats, for sure, they handed the Republicans a great campaign video last night. Probably several of them, but the one that stood out was when Trump asked them to stand if they support that they are there to work for the people of the United States, not illegal aliens, and none of the Democrats stood up. I'm like, ooh, that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt.
It's almost like they just take the bait from the guy, and I can't understand it. I've got to believe that the Democrats collectively are smart enough to figure that they're going to get baited into these issues. And if I was one of the leaders of the Democrats last night and I heard that, I would have been waving to everybody, stand up and clap and cheer. Don't take the bait. And they do it every time.
Yeah.
I've said before, I still think that Donald Trump baited a lot of people into the whole Epstein situation. Who's going to testify before Congress this week? Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. Okay,
How
Donald Trump.
embarrassing! What an embarrassment!
The files have been released, and people say, "Oh, Donald Trump is named, thousands of times." Yes, and if you read the mentions, Donald Trump is largely comes off. He comes off as like an altar boy. He says that Epstein did wrong. He should be in jail. He reports him to the police. I mean, there's nothing there so far to indict Donald Trump over the Epstein files, but there sure is an awful lot for Bill Gates and for a lot of other cronies, including the Clintons. And I wonder sometime, is he that smart that he can bait the Democratic Party into taking his challenge every time, and they fail. It's just amazing.
So I want to talk about some facts, and I hope if some other callers could call in and chime in about the subject I want to bring up to you real quick. We've been hearing about the big beautiful bill, right? Okay. Well, I went and got my taxes done last night after work. Have you got your taxes done yet?
No, I'm still working on them.
Okay. Well, I went and got it. I'm sitting there with the accountant, and he's going through everything, and he enters in the last bit of my information. I'm sitting at the edge of the seat, and when you're sitting there with him, and up in the upper right-hand corner, you see your numbers tallying up on what you owe or what your refund's going to be. You know what I'm talking about?
I sure do.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I see this real small number that I'm going to have to owe the federal government up in that right-hand corner, and I'm like, dude, this can't be true, because usually I'm getting bent over and screwed. So I asked him, we got done, and I'm smiling ear to ear, and I said, this is great. And he said, you're not the only one, pal. He said, everybody coming in here, seniors to the working people, are either getting refunds or their amount owed is just dropping like a lead ball. So before I left, I asked him, I said, can you do me a favor? I said, if it wasn't for this new bill and this tax cut that we just got, what would I owe? And that number almost hit five digits.
Wow.
And that's just a fact.
You know this much. I started on my taxes. I have an accountant that does them like you do. But so far, I'm looking at the numbers, and I think they look pretty good. I think the so-called big beautiful
they're
bill,
spectacular.
They did give some real tax relief. And if you're a senior citizen, they gave huge relief. I mean, this idea that seniors are getting some real substantial reductions in taxes, and I think that's wonderful. Of course, I'm 65, so yes, I could say it's self-serving, but I think that there are some real benefits on the tax code that was passed last year.
Oh, it's real, Tom. Believe me, it is real. And here's the reality of it all. Instead, the previous year, I just wrote. I'd write the government a gigantic check, which that's what I got to do it. I got to do it. But now I'm not this year. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go spend that money somewhere. I'm going to go spend it. So this is just it's unbelievable. I hope someone else out there has some similar stories, and I hope we hear some today, because that's mine.
That's the argument. That's the argument that Donald Trump has been making about this bill. Of course, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer have blasted this bill repeatedly and said that the American people have been hoodwinked and all these things. But everything that I hear from my own accountant tells me that I'm going to see a vast reduction in the amount of taxes that I pay this year, and that's good for me, because if I save money on taxes, I can spend that money on other things. And that's what the hope is, that it's going to help generate a new economic energy in the American economy. So I think, everything I've heard from people so far, like you, is that the tax bill actually made a significant difference. It's not just a couple of dollars. It's a lot of dollars. You're talking, as you said, thousands and thousands of dollars you're going to save on your taxes.
Yeah, thousands, and I love it. I'm loving it. So I'll let you get to another caller, but yeah, it's a great show so far, and we're just getting started.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call. We have additional callers. All right, we'll go to those callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, I've gone from paying a big check to the government to the other side of the ledger. So I'm pretty happy at one level, but at the other level, there's this issue of 20 plus trillion dollars in national debt. So there's that side of it too.
You're right about that. And, I think it's great to reduce the taxes on people, but we also have to make sure that we're not saddling people like Lynette with massive debt that's going to cripple our economy later on. And I agree with you, Walt, wholeheartedly. But my understanding is that some of the savings actually has been allocated at least to try and offset some of the debt that we have. It's not going to pay it down, but it's going to shrink the amount of debt that we keep on incurring. So that's the claim. And all I can say is that the first part of the claim is true. So I'm going to assume that that is going to happen because taxes, the average tax bill is going down significantly in the United States. So maybe they're telling the truth. I don't know. So far, so good.
If we just put a stop to the rise, because there wasn't anything done to stop that steady rise, it would just go out of control. And of course, if Democrats can try get control of the House, well, for one thing, they haven't forgotten about putting men in ladies' bathrooms and ladies' changing rooms in school. They haven't forgotten about providing free medical care to illegals. They've got a whole agenda of spending, but hopefully people recognize that. But I think you made a very good point in terms of the Bear Stadium situation. The enthusiasm for the Bear Stadium on both the Republican and Democrat side of the House in Indiana is phenomenal. I mean, and I was back in the '90s when there was this issue of the Bears stadium came up, and I was involved with defeating that. And looking at the way things are rolling, I just don't believe that the Bears are coming to Chicago, are coming to Indiana, excuse me. The only question is it going to stay in Chicago or is it going to go to Arlington Heights? I wish they would have the sense to build it in Illinois, in a safe area like Arlington Heights, and to get the Bears out of Chicago. It's an unsafe city, and everybody knows it. And I think if they get the Bears out of Chicago, I would love to see them to get the McCaskey family out of the Bears, because I think it would make for a big difference in terms of the performance of the Bears. I mean, Chicago, given the size of Chicago and the fan base of Chicago, you'd think that they would be competitive every year, more or less. And
let me jump in.
At times they are embarrassing.
Well, let me jump in a second and address a few things that you just said. Again, it's always the devil in the details. It sounds great. The Bears are coming to Northwest Indiana. They're going to locate in Hammond. Great. I don't think there's anybody that would be opposed to that. But, Mark from Hobart just pointed out, he just texted me this morning and said that he's officially not in favor of a food and beverage tax that would be imposed on all businesses in Lake and Porter County. He doesn't see the benefit, for example, to the city of Hobart, where he lives. All right. I mean, if you're going to, and I agree with him, if you're going to put these taxes and you're going to put them on all businesses in Lake and Porter County, how does a business in Valparaiso say, well, I benefit from the Bears being located at Wolf Lake and Hammond? All right. Now, if you're a business in Hammond or Whiting or East Chicago or Munster, you probably can make that claim. But I think it's very hard when you're a business in Crown Point or in Hobart or again Valparaiso or Portage. It's pretty hard to claim that the Bears Stadium in Northwest Indiana is going to have a direct benefit on your business. And again, at the same time, is it worth arguing about? Because I still believe that the chance of the Bears locating in Hammond is still pretty small. I think it's grown tremendously by the actions of the legislature, but I just get the feeling that we're being used as leverage by the Bears against the state of Illinois.
As Indiana gets closer and closer and closer to saying, "Oh, we got a plan and we're going to impose taxes and so forth," as you can just, if you watch the news carefully, you'll see as closer as Indiana becomes more aggressive in pushing their plan, guess what happens on the Illinois side? All of a sudden, there are people saying, "Oh, yeah, maybe we ought to be able to give the Bears some goodies to stay here in Illinois." It's pretty obvious, and when this first came up, I just laughed. And D'Lo he was not a happy camper, and he talks the game of, well, you have to talk positive, kind of thing. But some of the officials are saying,
Walt, I agree with the idea that we have to talk positive. I think we have to talk positive. I think we have to look at the positives for Northwest Indiana, and I agree with Jed on that. But at the same time, does that mean that we want to go and adopt a food and beverage tax on every business in Northwest Indiana? I don't see the benefit. Right. Do we give away? I think Mike said it this morning. Do we give away the store to get the Bears Stadium or not? It would be a transformational opportunity. I agree, but let's make sure that we don't give away more than anybody else would. If they want to come to Northwest Indiana, welcome them. That's great. Let's get them here. But how much is it going to cost us? That's the question that needs to be answered.
Before last week or 2 weeks ago, you had a group of ladies talking about the fundraiser, with the big
the region.
I don't remember the name of it. Pardon?
Taste of the Region.
Yeah, right.
Service League. The Service League and Taste of the Region.
This week?
I believe it's this week, yes.
I attended a thing a number of years ago, and it's worthwhile. I mean, for one thing, it's a good cause, and they have it just really well organized, and plenty of parking, and the whole food arrangement. I mean, everything is, there'll be, 30 different restaurants, and they produce small items, sampler kind of items. So you can go around with your plate and pick a sample here and a sample there, and they're not stingy on the food, and there's plenty of variety. And if you've never been to this, I would strongly recommend supporting it. It's a good cause, and the way it's arranged and run, it's very, very impressive. They really know how to take care of the people.
It's coming up on March 6th, and again, it's at Avalon Ballroom on US 30 in Hobart, and the cost is $100 per person, but you get more than 30 restaurants. It sounds like a great evening, and I encourage everybody to go out and support it. It's really for great causes. They support a lot of really good causes in Northwest Indiana. And so all the money that's raised goes right back to good charitable causes. So absolutely support it. Hey, Walt, thanks so much for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call. We have some additional callers. Do we want to take a quick break, though?
Sure.
Why don't we go to a quick break? And we'll come right back, and then we'll do traffic and weather, because I see the traffic is changing on the expressways in Illinois. So we'll talk about that when we get back.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
Do you like to work with your hands, creating something from nothing? Then think about Laborers Local 41. You'll get 432 hours of apprenticeship training, all while earning a wage with benefits and incurring no student debt. You'll travel to different job sites, learn tons of skills, and in a lot of cases, be the first one on and the last one off a job site. It all starts at laborers41.com.
Are you sausage curious?
Who's ready for Polish?
Big Frank Sausage has the very best Polish food in the region.
You had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage?
We have a full bar, dine-in, carry-out, delivery, and catering available.
I've had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
I've got a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
219-378-9556. Smacznego i na zdrowie.
Who's ready for Polish?
IBEW Local 697 electrical contractors bring the highest standard of electrical work to Lake County homes, schools, and businesses. From everyday fixes to once-in-a-lifetime builds, we don't just get the job done, we get it done right and up to the highest safety standards. When you need electrical work, hire the professionals who power Indiana. Powering Indiana, Lake County, bringing excellence to the job, creating a brighter future for our community.
All right, folks, let's take another look at traffic and weather. Traffic on the expressways in Northwest Indiana look fine, but when you get across the line into Illinois, there is a growing concern that I have right around Lake Calumet on the Bishop Ford. Traffic is now backing up down to about roughly about 115th, and it seems to be growing by the minute. And through that whole turn, till it merges into the Ryan. Basically, it's really building now. The Ryan itself doesn't look bad. There's some slowdowns, but kind of typical slowdowns. But again, I worry a little bit about the Bishop Ford. So if you're trying to head into the city, you may want to avoid the Bishop Ford this morning and take some other roadways. You can take Klein Avenue, you can take to the Skyway, or you take the Skyway right in from the toll road. That's probably your best alternative right now. If you take the Skyway, when you get to the Ryan, you should be in pretty good shape for the most part. But traffic is building on all the area expressways. Looking at other expressways, the Kennedy, the Eisenhower, and the Stevenson are kind of their usual selves. 294 looks pretty good throughout the Chicago area. And again, Northwest Indiana, no real slowdowns. So you should be in pretty good shape, except for that area over on the Bishop Ford. With that, let's talk about weather again.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 29 degrees with highs of 39 and lows of 23. It's going to be mostly sunny and breezy this afternoon, and then later tonight should be partly cloudy with a stray flurry. Tomorrow on Thursday, we'll be having highs of 43 and lows of 32 with periods of clouds and sunshine. And then Friday, we'll be having highs of 62 and lows of 31. It should be mostly sunny, breezy, and warmer.
62 degrees on Friday. That's wonderful. That is great. That's great news. It
just
looks
for
like
that
it's
one
going
day.
Just that one day, because the bottom falls out the next day, I see. Looks like it goes down to the high is only in the 30s on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Boy, that's a quick change. Quick change. But it doesn't look bad. The long-term outlook looks pretty decent. Looks like it's moderating temperatures throughout the region for the next couple of weeks. So it won't be long before spring is here. And, we can complain about everything else. We can complain about flooded basements and flooded streets, and we can complain about the heat and the cost of electricity. So we'll have something else to complain about. But 845-1100 is the number to call this morning. A lot of people talk about the State of the Union address, and I think that obviously should be front and center. Donald Trump went way too long. I'm sorry, but 2 hours is just too much. For anybody. He did have a more conciliatory tone than he's had in the past, although there were a couple of times where he baited the Democrats and they stepped right into it, and I'm kind of shocked that they could be collectively so dumb to do it. I'm sorry, but you have to know that Donald Trump is going to say some things. Every president does it. And you don't take the bait. And I don't understand how they just walked right into it last night. I think one of the funniest moments of the entire speech was when he talked about passing legislation to prohibit insider trading and information by Congress, and he got a standing ovation from, among other people, Elizabeth Warren stood up, and then he made some crack about, I wonder how Nancy Pelosi feels about that. And they didn't show her, and I wish they would have. They showed her later on, but I think they kind of lost her in the crowd. But you saw a smirk on Elizabeth Warren's face over that one. So there were a few moments that it seems like the Democrats and the Republicans came together. They came together over the two Congressional Medal of Honor winners, which of course is only right. It's our nation's highest honor, and so they honored the two veterans, um, both pilots, by the way, just like Walt. They were both pilots, so they were honored, and that was great. But there were a lot of moments of division, and it's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate in a way that Donald Trump kind of is a catalyst for that division. He says he's trying to bring people together, but his comments say otherwise. And I'm not sure that I was totally, in sync with some of his comments. At the same time, I think that the Democrats just stepped right into it. So love to hear from you. 845-1100. We're going to be here until 8:30, and then at 8:30, the Town of Dyer show comes on, and so we've got about let's say another hour and 45 minutes before things end. I keep on wondering though, folks, a little closer to home, there has been so much uproar over the NIPSCO bills, and rightly so. I look at my NIPSCO bill, and I'm not even home right now. And my NIPSCO bill is just hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and I'm paying delivery fees for nothing. And it just, to me, it's completely out of control. And I just wonder, is the Bears Stadium a ploy in part to draw attention away from the anger and the concern that people have over the NIPSCO bills? And I'd love for you to chime in about that one, because think about it. If you're a member of the legislature right now, you're feeling a lot of heat from people in all of northern Indiana going all the way over to Fort Wayne. You're hearing about from constituents about the high rate of the NIPSCO bills. And at the same time, if you want to divert a lot of that anger, all you have to do is say, well, hey, we're going to bring the Bears to Northwest Indiana. At least for Northwest Indiana, it has changed the tone of the debate. When you go online and you look at social media, you don't see the anger that you saw a few weeks ago. Now it's all about the Bears. And should we keep focused on the NIPSCO rates, because the NIPSCO rates aren't going away unless somebody does something. And again, if you're a local politician, many of them have sat very quietly. I will give Jason Gore, who's a candidate for sheriff, a lot of credit for going out and saying what he said about the NIPSCO rates the other day. I think there have been a few people that have spoken up, but for the most part, they stayed very quiet. But everybody, including local politicians, jump on the bandwagon when it comes to the Bears. So where's the outrage representing your constituents over NIPSCO? I mean, Mark from Hobart certainly has brought it up. Hobart has actually had some comment about it, but most communities have stayed very, very quiet. When I look at some of the city and town council meetings, I don't see a lot of uproar about the NIPSCO rates. All of a sudden, you hear, "Oh, we're going to bring the Bears to Northwest Indiana. We have to unify. We have to be together," and that's great. But how about representing the people that put you in office? 845-1100 is the number to call. There was a post the other day by John Patelis, who's the Lake County treasurer, and I don't totally understand this one. John posted on Facebook that because someone filed against him for office, he is now going to be forced to spend campaign funds to put up billboards in Northwest Indiana with his name on it. And my answer to that is, so what, John? Why he's all upset because he says, I'm going to have to spend money. If this guy wants to run against me, then I'm going to have to spend money on billboards. Well, isn't that why you raised money to buy advertising. I mean, that's usually what politicians do. So I don't understand the uproar and the outcry that John took on social media. And he'll probably unfriend me today for bringing this up, but I just don't understand why he was so upset about having to buy billboards because somebody filed against him. He said that the person's not qualified. That's why you run a campaign. You make the argument that the other person's not qualified and you are. So I don't know if anybody caught that, but I didn't understand why he was upset that he was having to buy billboards with his campaign money because somebody filed against him. So, it's kind of the typical campaign season in Northwest Indiana. Again, if you're in office, I think you have to figure you're going to spend money on advertising and promoting your campaign. And I just didn't understand what the outcry was over that. So, again, 845-1100 is the number to call. There are a few other issues we can talk about, but I think that the Save Act is one that I'd like to hear people talk about because here the mayor of New York says that you have to have, at first he said five, and then he dropped it to two pieces of ID to shovel snow in one of the worst blizzards to hit the city of New York in its history. But then he says you shouldn't have to show an ID to vote in an election. And to me, that doesn't make sense. I mean, if you have to show an ID to shovel snow, you ought to show an ID to vote in an election. To me, that's just common sense. And so I'd love to hear comments about that as well, because again, we do some things in this country that sometimes are just mind-boggling. The idea that you have to show an ID to buy cigarettes, you have to show an ID to buy alcohol. You have to show an ID to get into a lot of venues. Members of Congress have to show IDs all day long. I heard several of them make that comment, including Senator Fetterman, who said, look, he said, I'm one of the more recognizable people in Congress, and I still have to show an ID. So they have to show IDs everywhere. But then Chuck Schumer is saying we don't need to pass a law that says that you have to show an ID to vote. To me, that makes no sense. Now, most of us in Indiana are used to it because you have to show an ID here, but there are parts of this nation where you don't show an ID. And to me, that, the argument that, well, that's, it's un-American to make people show an ID to vote. I've never, ever found anything in American history that says that you have to show that showing an ID is un-American. I think that, to the contrary, we're kind of the ones that kind of fostered the whole idea of showing IDs. And so why the big uproar? I mean, 80% of the American people say it's okay to show an ID when you go to vote. So why not just pass the bill and be done with it? Why do we pick these fights that are totally unnecessary? I mean, there are some common sense things that we need to agree on. We need to agree on the border. I'll take Frank Mrvan at his word. He posted that he's for a safe and controlled border. Wonderful. I don't know where he was during the Biden administration when it was out of control, but I'll take him at his word. He's in favor of a controlled border. Why not be in favor of showing an ID when you have to vote? We have to do it in Indiana anyway, so why not extend that same approach to all 50 states? So love to hear from you this morning about some of these issues, because again, it just seems like we got away from common sense. And we've got some callers, so we'll go to the callers. Good morning, you're on the air. Good morning.
Tom, good morning.
Good morning.
Tom, I think you've got a bit of a delay. Good morning.
Good morning, go ahead.
Hey, giving credit where credit's due. Lynette, you are without a doubt the most polished, most professional, most well-spoken producer of any of these shows in the morning.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Tom, like you just said, where was Mrvan under the Biden administration with these illegals? Where was he? He didn't do a darn thing, did he?
It's a very good question. He He basically did tell us that he had met with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden was as sharp as could be. He said that Joe Biden was working on the border. I mean, one thing Donald Trump did, whether you like the guy or not, is he closed the border very quickly. Okay, let's forget about all the stuff with ICE. The one thing that the American people was overwhelmingly favored was closing our border, and Donald Trump got that done very, very quickly. And this argument that Biden was working on it all those years and Kamala Harris was the border czar, it shows just how inept they were.
So Mervan lied to us, saying that Biden was sharp and that they were working on the border. Would you say that's correct? He lied?
I'd say his perspective of the truth was different than everybody else's. How about that?
Okay. Would you say that this administration is busy cleaning up the mess that the Biden-Harris administration dealt with?
No doubt about it. Everything from the border to foreign affairs to the economy. I think the Biden administration was a disaster. And I think long term, history is going to remember Joe Biden as somebody who should have never been president, going back to what Barack Obama said about him, that he should not have been president. I agree there.
Despite Trump having to deal with all these Biden errors, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
We're certainly better. I think part of the problem is that the American public has become a consumer, so people don't want to wait anymore. People have this consumer approach to everything, and the price of eggs has gone down, but they haven't gone down to what people expect them to be. Gasoline has gone down, but it hasn't gone down to where some people want it to be. And so, as consumers, we want things to happen faster than sometimes it takes. But I think I'd have to agree with you that we're better off than we were under the Biden administration. Absolutely.
Is Omar choosing to stay in the United States, or is she going back to her original country?
Julian Omar, to me, is somebody who's used her ethnic status for a lot of gain. According to the Wall Street Journal, she basically is now worth $20 million. This is somebody who basically was in debt a few years ago. Now all of a sudden she's worth tens of millions of dollars. I question a lot of what she's been up to. I think that ultimately, when the final chapter is written about the corruption that's gone on in Minneapolis, her name is going to be front and center. I think she enabled an awful lot of people to steal a lot of money from the United States, and it's unfortunate that she's a Democrat, but I don't know that most Democrats want to identify her with the Democratic Party for that matter.
In my humble perspective and opinion, she's more than welcome to return to a place that raised her and squat over a hole when she has to go. Can you tell me, that's just me, can you tell me who Patalis is running against?
You can't, and that's what's really amazing. He had this big dust up on social media about how, because this guy is running against me, I'm having to spend money on billboards. And my point was, okay, but John, that's what you raised money for, your campaign, right? You raised money to buy advertising. So what's the big deal? You mean that you felt that you should get a free ride because you've done such a great job as treasurer and then auditor and then treasurer and back and forth all these years? I'm sorry, but that's not the way the political system is supposed to work. If somebody enters your primary and you feel it necessary to campaign, then so be it. If you feel that you don't need to spend the money, then that's your prerogative. But I didn't understand why he made such a big deal about somebody filing against him.
Look, he's done well over the years leapfrogging back and forth, has he not?
Well, he has, and he forgets to mention something. We say we don't like nepotism in politics, but his brother-in-law is on the county council. His brother-in-law is Ted Bilski. So John Patalis is the Lake County treasurer. Ted Bilski is Lake County councilman. They're both fine people, but you know, John, I just again, I don't understand why he wanted to make a big controversy and a big dust up about the fact that he's having to spend money on buying billboards with his campaign funds because somebody filed against him. So what? Why is this an issue?
Lastly, Tom, the show on Monday, Chuck Pull and Bob Starkey show, did you get to listen to it with the guy from Indianapolis talking about Lucas Oil?
Heard a little bit. I did hear part of it, yes.
If that gentleman from downstate had his facts in line, if he was correct about everything, and maybe Leanne can find that name and people can look at what he said, or Bob Starkey can call it in. If that guy had his facts straight about the taxes and what citizens in Marion County and Indianapolis, if he's correct, building that stadium, and I don't think it's going to happen, but it's enough of an uproar right now for people to speak against it. The citizens in Hammond, again, I don't think it's going to happen, but the citizens in Hammond, Indiana, and Lake County, and perhaps Porter County would be screwed for years to come.
Look, let's talk about Lucas Oil Stadium for a minute. It's a phenomenal venue. Okay, it is one of the premier venues basically in the United States. It can be used for football, basketball. It's a great facility. I know some people who have businesses in downtown Indianapolis, and they say that they feel the weight of the taxes. Okay, they do feel a difference. They say that it does have an impact. There are some business owners who claim that the Circle Mall actually was victimized by the cost of Lucas Oil Stadium. That people didn't want to shop at Circle Center Mall or whatever it was called in downtown Indianapolis, in part because of the weight of the taxes from Lucas Oil Stadium. I don't know that that's 100% correct, but my concern is this: the McCaskey family own the Bears. The Bears are a multi-billion-dollar team. They say they're willing to spend $2 billion to build the stadium. All right. But the stadium is going to cost more than $2 billion. So that's like you saying, hey, Tom, I'm going to buy a car and the car is going to cost me 50,000 and I've got 30,000, but I'm not going to pay for your car. Right. So why should I pay for the Bears stadium? There is to me, there's a problem. I understand tax breaks and those kinds of things and infrastructure improvements, but why are we paying for a stadium for a multi-billion-dollar corporation?
Hey, lastly, and I wait Matlock's call on how great the Democrats are. But lastly, I'm done with Frank Mervan, Barb Regnitz for Congress.
I'm going to try and get both on. I'd like to have Barb Regnitz on. I'd like to have Frank Mervan come on.
Oh my God, you're killing me, Tom. I got a bridge to sell you. You're going to get Mervan on here? Stop with the lies, Tom Dabertin.
No, I have to. Under FCC rules, I've got to basically give everybody the same opportunity. So I'm saying right now, I'm inviting both of them to come on. I will invite them to come on and talk about where they stand. So that's a legal requirement. Whether Frank Mervan ever shows up is another story. So I'm not lying. I'm just saying I have to invite him. All right. So I'll invite him. But again, I'd like for him to come on. I'd like for him to explain a lot of things. And MX is right about the tariffs. The tariffs basically have been very good to the steel industry. So we need to talk about a lot of things when these candidates come on.
When he comes on your show, is he going to sit the entire time?
We'll see. We'll see. He can stand. He can kneel. I don't really care. But again, there are some things that Frank Mervan has done that are quite good. There are some things that astound me. And he knows it. That one of the first things I still want is for him to explain how he didn't stand for that kid with cancer last year during Trump's address. That's one that still bothers me. And I'm
Well,
sorry, I know that he's tried to explain it a few times, but I'd like for him to explain it to me and everybody that listens.
Well, if Hakeem Jeffries is on your show, Mervan will kneel.
All right. Hey, we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call. Lynette, I missed your sign. That's what I thought you were giving me. We are just over 7 a.m., and because of that, we have to take another break. You're listening to the morning call on WJOB, 1230 a.m., 104.7 FM. We'll be right back.
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up. Apologizes. And welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people is a smile.
Thank you.
Strachan Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
Ogren Insurance, Hammond's oldest family-owned independent insurance agency, now in its third generation providing clients in the Chicago area with products from quality insurance companies to handle your every need. Regardless of driving history, Ogren Insurance can find the right coverage for you at competitive prices. To learn more about the insurance solutions and services we offer throughout Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, call 219-933-0076 or visit our website, ogreninsurance.com. We're located at 6929 Homan Avenue in Hammond, Indiana. Do business locally with someone you know and trust.
For a fast and friendly car wash, go to Easy Clean Car Wash. Open 7 days a week in 4 convenient locations: Highland, Griffith, Cherville, and Lansing. Free vacuuming, air freshener, and a towel with every wash. It's fast, safe, and gentle. For more information and hours of all our locations, visit myeasyclean.com. Also, see how you can wash your car daily with our $10 Ultimate Wash for only $19.99 per month. Give your car the best clean at Easy Clean Car Wash.
From the gas in your car to the heat in your home and the roads that you drive on, our work powers daily life. We are USW Local 71, the proud men and women of the Whiting Refinery. We're not just refinery workers. We're your friends and neighbors, raising our families here, shopping in the same stores, and cheering in the same stands. USW Local 71, powering the region because we are the region.
We're back, and before we take any calls, I just want to clarify something. The caller mentioned, Ron Matlock, for example. Ron's a Democrat, but Ron's not a spokesman for the Democratic Party. Dave Gierman is a Democrat. He's not a spokesman for the Democratic Party. I'm a Democrat. I'm not a spokesman for the Democratic Party. Too often, we try and blame individuals for things that are going on nationally, and I don't think that's fair. So I did want to get that out there because, once again, I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your calls. If Frank Mervan wants to come on my show, he's welcome to come on. Again, I'd love to have him come on. He all of a sudden claims that he doesn't know me, which is pretty comical because I still have his cell phone number and have, plenty of stories to tell. I mean, I know him and his family extremely well. But if he wants to come on, he'll come on. If he doesn't want to come on, that's his prerogative. That's up to him. Barb Regnitz, if she wants to come on, she's most likely going to be the Republican candidate. She's a Porter County commissioner. She is welcome to come on. And I will extend the invitation to both of them. I'll send them text messages. I have both cell phone numbers, so I'll send text messages asking them to come on. And if they come on, that's great. The only rule that I have is if you come on my show, you have to take calls. You have to take calls and you have to answer some questions that I'm going to ask. And Frank, one question that I still want to ask is why didn't he stand for that one kid that had cancer? And you can say, oh, come on, Tom, give it up. That's a long time ago. It is, but I think it said a lot about who represents me in Northwest Indiana when you didn't stand for a kid for cancer. And that was a little bit of a problem. And if he says, look, it was a mistake, so be it. We'll move on. But I need him to explain it. I'm not going to state or be his spokesperson by any means. So there you have it. I just want to clarify things because I have no issue with Frank Mervan other than the fact that I have questions about some things where he stands on issues. I don't dislike him personally. I know the family very well. I know his sister. I know his mom, his dad. Been very close to the family over the years, so I don't have an issue with him or Vans. I just want him to answer some questions. That's all there is to it. 845-1100 is the number to call. We're going to be here until 8:30, and then at 8:30, the Town of Dyer show comes on. And next month at this time, I will hand over the mic to them personally because I'll be back in the region. So, lots to talk about this morning. Again, the State of the Union, 2 hours. Does anybody not tell Donald Trump, "Hey, look, your people are going to tune out"? Now, I wonder about this. As I watched his speech last night, and again, it was far more conciliatory than Donald Trump is normally capable of, although there were some moments where he certainly turned it to be political, but he was a little bit more receptive and conciliatory than he's been in the past, let's just say. I thought about it. Maybe he went 2 hours, largely because he knows that nobody would then watch the Democratic response. And I tried to watch the governor from Virginia give her response, but to be honest with you, I tuned into it. And as soon as she started talking, I saw that she was in front of an audience. People were clapping for her. She got in about 30 seconds, and something happened that I have to apologize for, folks. It's basically biological. I fell asleep. And all of a sudden I woke up, and the announcer was saying, "Well, and there you heard from Governor Spamberger," and it's like, "Oh, you mean I missed it?" And I fell asleep. I just couldn't stay awake long enough. So, shame on me. I'll read her comments this morning, and we'll make sure that I take in what she had to say as well. But Donald Trump just went too long, and I just wonder, did he do it deliberately so that the Democratic response wouldn't be heard and seen? And that might have been the reason. But again, 2 hours, a 2 hour speech is a little too long. He had a few funny comments in there. He was somewhat entertaining at times, but and I love some of the personal stories, and it's wonderful to see our nation pay tribute to some individuals who've done some amazing things, and also some individuals who've gone through some horrible challenges. And you have to have respect for those individuals. And it was nice to see that the Democrats did not try and sit there just on their hands last night and not clap. They did clap. And for what it's worth, Frank Mervan, I saw him stand several times. I wasn't watching the speech to see if Frank Mervan stood or not, to be honest with you, but I did see him a few times on camera, and I saw that he stood, and I saw that he clapped. So I'll give him credit for that. And it's just sad. I think it sends the wrong message to the world when people from outside the United States watch these speeches and they see that one party or the other is basically tuning out the speaker. I think it's wrong. I think that we have to talk about unity in this nation, and obviously Donald Trump is not a unifier. He's gotten some things done that's right, but he's also not done a great job of unifying this nation. And I wish he would have come on last night and said, "Look, let's do a reset. Let's talk about what we need to do in the next year and the next 3 years. And I want to work with everybody." I didn't really hear that from his speech. And so to me, it fell short of expectation, because I would have liked to hear him say, "I don't care. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. These are things the American people want. These are the things that the American people need, and I'm here to deliver them." I would have loved to have heard a speech like that, and he didn't do that. He talked about some things that were good for us as a nation. He's had a lot of foreign policy achievements, and that's great. And the world is safer because of some of the things that he's done. Give him credit for that. He talked about the economy and some of the things that he's done, which again have been helpful. And as the one caller mentioned, every indication that I have on my tax return this year, that I'm going to do a whole lot better than I did last year, and that's great to hear. That people are having basically the same experience, and at the same time, Walt's right too. We can't. We also have to worry about the debt, because Lynette You are 20 some years old and you've got many years ahead of you, and you're going to be paying down a debt that my generation created for you. And that's a little concerning to me that we're leaving you with the ticket. We're leaving you with the bill. 845-1100. We've got some callers, so let's go to the callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
He can
I
hear
hear
you.
you. Yes.
Oh, okay. How you doing this morning?
Good. I think we have a little delay this morning. We have a little technical problem that we're trying to clear up. But go ahead.
How you doing? How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Okay. You back? Are you back now?
No, I'm not. I'm not back, and we're having a little technical problem this morning. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, I guess I just kind of been sleeping in this morning. You know, I retired 30 years ago, but I never stopped working. I retired about 30, so I was kind of sleeping in. I guess heard my name. I'm like this. I like Democrats and Republicans, red, white, and blue. I've always said red is, I guess, Republican, blue is Democrats, and white is independents. I think that's the American flag: red, white, and blue, all American. I'm like that. When I came up as a child, I asked my father, who coming up in Arkansas, why would I? And this is what he said, and I kind of experienced that. A lot of times you do what your parents say, how you vote. They're coming up because you don't know who to vote for. And he said, well, I'll tell you why I would say, son. He said the Democrats. Some people think they are too far. They just giving stuff like that, giving food stamps, giving this, giving that, Social Security, and we all enjoy Social Security, I believe, because we work for, And I said, oh, okay. So I some of the things that what's happening in America today, it seems to me like I could really appreciate Democrats more because they more in tune to how I feel in terms of things that I'm entitled to. I believe that they are really trying to see people working together. I'm not anti Republican. I'm not anti Donald Trump. I just basically think he needs to stay scripted, and stay for 2 hours last night. And I said yesterday, I think when Burlington was on, that I bet you he will mention. I said, I bet you he'll mention the Biden 5 or 6 times. Well, I would have lost that bet because he only mentioned him 2 or 3 times. And I don't know why when you give a person an opportunity to serve, you need to move on and say, hey, look here, like you say, the good things. If he's doing good, he's doing good. Frank is a tremendous person in terms of I like the way things. I think can nobody say that he has not done more for this region, the first district, than any congressman I believe I've ever known. I wasn't too much of
Ron, let me ask you a couple of questions, Ron. Let me ask you a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
So I think some of the comments that you just made make a lot of sense. Okay, and you're right. We're red, white, and blue. We're Republican, Democrat, and independent. But one of the things that was missing last night was there were a couple of calls that Donald Trump made about, for example, eliminating insider trading information with Congress. I think that was right on target, and it was great to see Elizabeth Warren jumped up and she gave him a standing ovation for that. And I think that's something that we all agree on. Okay, we don't elect our Congress people to gain immense wealth while they're there. They're there to do the people's business, and that's what they're there for. And I think that's one. Let me ask you about the SAVE Act, though. Okay, the idea that everybody has to show an ID when they go to vote. Why? Where do you stand on that? And why is there opposition to that when you and I are certainly old enough to not have to show an ID when we go to a liquor store, yet most liquor stores require us to show an ID. So if you have to show an ID to buy liquor or buy cigarettes or do those kinds of things, why not show an ID? Where do you stand on that, for example?
I'm like this. I believe person ought to have an ID, show an ID. I believe they ought to do that. But I just think that there is I've been a precinct committeeman for 25 years, and it's hard. It's getting harder and harder every day to have people to go, and even though because Donald Trump, I think, is trying to fix it so that you need a little more information and all this stuff, and then when you get this, then we're going to change the rules. He just even came here this last.
Do you support? Wait a minute. Do you support having to show an ID at the polling site?
I just said to you, Tom. Yes, I do. I do. I believe that. But I'm saying that even with that, they talked about nationalizing the election. 15 out of it's a third of the states in America, which is 50 states. A third of them was saying, we want to nationalize that. I think, but in other words, when you do that, then the fact of the matter is, we know that Donald Trump will lie. We know that him sending. Why would he go? Tom, let me ask you this. You're a pretty fair guy. Why would he start going back down to Georgia and seeing what happened? That election is over. Biden will never be running again, nor will Obama. Why does they do stuff like that? Just doesn't make sense to me.
Here, Ron. Let me put things in perspective for a second. You said that Donald Trump lies. So did Joe Biden. So did basically every president. Exactly, and that's my point. They all lie. They all lie. Exactly, they all lie.
But nobody, I believe, lies more than. And I think Jed has said on his show here a lot of times, this guy just lied. Well, he does just lie. And my understanding, like I said, I had an opportunity to meet Donald Trump. I really did. Shook his hand, and you say you did? Yeah. I'll tell you when it was. When he came in, he had a casino here, Trump Casino, and he said, "Oh boy, I really love." Gary, and we're going to do this Union Station downtown, what used to be the church there. We're going to do all this stuff. And the first time he got a chance, he got the hell out of here, and so did many other things. And so I'm just looking at it. They say he's a good businessman. Well, Donald Trump right now, I don't think really right now it's really about himself. I watch people, and I've seen Democrats like that, like themselves. And so I'm not going to say, well, because when you ask me a question, well, do how about the rest of them? Yes, some of the rest of them. But I'm not. You'll never hear me say all those Republicans in Washington are terrible. That's not true. That's not. But I hear one guy. He calls every night. I'm going red all the way. I'm going red all the way. I came up in the South where George Wallace was a Democrat. He said segregation today, tomorrow, and forever. Did he not? Okay. Apparently he changed his mind later on, because when I went down there through Alabama, and he had a lot of minorities working on the roads, and I said, well, he changed. Less the matter. See, we go back in history. If you want to talk about history, we are in Black History Month. When you talk about that, well, but if I mention anything about Black history, I'm disrespected when what is he talking about now? He's racist. Everybody's got a history. And we ought to be respected by that.
I think,
and I'm just not the kind of guy that I just accept. And because I started not to even call this morning, because sometimes it's not because of you, but it's too much hate. Ron Mallott is a Johnson. He likes Johnson over shit. What has Johnson got to do with America and what's happening in America?
Ron, once again, I as I said before, you're not a spokesman for the Democratic Party. And I clarified that, but I think, I think that you brought up a very valid point. You brought up a very valid point about George Wallace, but George Wallace was to me somebody who, by the way, is a Democrat. Wallace basically was somebody who tried to divide this country and not bring them together, and I think that the problem that we've had with the last couple presidents, and I'm including, Donald Trump's first term, and I'm including Joe Biden, is that there's just too much division in this country and not enough unity. And I think that we need to start talking about things that'll bring us together. So I appreciate the call, Ron. And again, you're not a spokesperson for the Democratic
I want
Party.
to have somebody who could bring people together in America, and that's what I really want. And I just don't see it right now. Okay.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. Thank you so much. 845-1100 is the number to call. Do we have another caller, or we want to take a quick break?
No callers.
All right. Why don't we take a quick break? You're listening to the Morning Call on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, and we'll be right back.
It's gold rush time at Albert's. Oh, looky here! Oh, those are gonna fetch a pretty penny.
Well, who's gonna buy them from us?
I'll buy that gold from you.
What did you say?
I said I'll buy that gold from you, and I'll give you top dollar.
That sounds great.
It's gold rush time. We will see you at Albert's.
For over 140 years, the Central Midwest Carpenters have built our communities in Northwest Indiana. Are you ready to join the effort? We have long-term work, competitive pay, and the best benefits in the industry. We pride ourselves on innovative training and commitment to worksite safety. Earn as you learn as an apprentice. A solid career built on a solid legacy. For more info, go to carpenters.com.
Are you searching for a college where you belong? Calumet College of St. Joseph wants to know you and give you the support you need to succeed. Are you worried about how you'll pay for your degree? 95% of our students receive financial aid, including scholarships and grants. Need some extra help with your classes? You'll benefit from our small class sizes, free tutoring, internship planning, faculty mentors, and so much more. Come experience our accepting, supportive college family for yourself. Schedule your campus visit and apply at ccsj.edu.
If you're thinking of finishing your basement, installing outdoor security cameras, or your business has plans to break ground on a new project in 2024, Powering Indiana, Lake County is your source for the region's best electricians. With IBEW, Local 697 electricians, you're choosing the highest level of safety and reliability. Visit poweringindiana.org today and ensure your project is in the hands of skilled professionals.
Folks, we're back, and I know there's a little bit of a delay this morning on some of the calls, and I'm just talking to Lynette. Lynette and I are not having a delay between us, so it's probably the phone system, and we apologize. But as we evolve with the new setup at WJOB, I think we're having a little problem with our phone lines today. Is that correct? Lynette,
Sorry, yep.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
we're getting a new phone system soon.
Yeah, so folks, it's a little hard sometimes. I know, like Ron called and he kept on saying hello, hello, and we're here. It's just there's a little problem, little quirk that we're trying to work out. So bear with us. We'll get through it. And if it sounds like I'm talking over people, I apologize. And if it sounds like you're talking over me, I don't take personal offense to it. So with that, 845-1100 is the number to call. Let's take another look at traffic because as I see it right now, Northwest Indiana, no problems. 8094, I-65, the toll road, Client Avenue look great. Go across the line into Illinois. There is a tie-up on Lakeshore Drive this morning, and there's also now a big backup on the Dan Ryan and also the Bishop Ford. So you're probably going to take State Street. If you know where I'm talking about, if you commute to downtown Chicago, then you know about getting off on State Street at about 55th and going straight north is going to be your best bet to get into the city because there are a lot of tie-ups in a lot of bad places this morning. 294 looks pretty good around the city. When you get into some of the other expressways, the Kennedy, the Eisenhower, and the Stevenson, lots of backups on those as well. So not a great day for traveling into the city this morning. And again, Lakeshore Drive shows an accident right about the Museum of Science and Industry, which is problematic if that's the case, because it's not going to allow you to take the Skyway to Stony Island and then cut up that way to get to Lakeshore Drive. So you're going to have some problems, but at least the weather's improving. So with that, Lynette, what's the weather look like?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 30 degrees with highs of 39 and lows of 23. It's going to be mostly sunny and then breezy this afternoon, and then partly cloudy with a stray flurry later tonight. And then on Thursday, we'll be having highs of 43 and lows of 32 with periods of clouds and sunshine. And then Friday, we'll be having highs of 62 and lows of 31. It should be mostly sunny, breezy, and warmer.
And you're listening to WJOB 1230M and 104.7 FM. So you got it right on 7:30. There, I did it. Like, once in a blue moon, right? I mean, we get it right. Now, again, it's great to be with you this morning, and I just enjoy this so much, talking to all of you, and love the phone calls, and apologize for any snafu we're having with the phone lines today and a little bit of a delay. But give us a call at 845-1100. The State of the Union, my take on it, way too long. Not enough forward-thinking statements. I like the State of the Union to tell me where we're going to go for the next year. I understand it's supposed to be a report on where we've been, but I also think it's important to give us hope and to give us direction on where the country is going to go in the future. And I didn't hear enough of that last night. I heard about the SAVE Act. I heard about the curbs on Congress. I think those are great. I think, again, trying to have the conversation with the delay that we were having with Ron. Ron's been a precinct committeeman for a long, long time. He knows you have to show an ID when you go to vote. So why not show it in every state? I don't see a big problem with showing an ID. I think it's just crazy when Chuck Schumer claims that it's, Jim Crow 2.0. That's ridiculous. It's not there to disenfranchise anyone except people that shouldn't be voting, and to make sure that people only vote once. But I didn't hear a lot from Donald Trump about here's what we need to do together. It was I did this, and I am doing that. And I think that people want to know, okay, but as a nation, what are we going to do? I was also a little dumbfounded by the fact that he didn't talk much about how we're going to celebrate this nation's 250th anniversary. He talked about the fact that it was coming up, and it was nice when he said he was truly honored to be president. That's great, but tell us, like, what is it that we're going to do as a nation to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the founding of this nation? And I didn't hear that. I didn't hear those kinds of things that I wanted to hear last night. Again, 2 hours, some great tributes to some great Americans, some great individuals, some people who've gone through some horrible situations, like the mom of the woman from Charlotte. I mean, you couldn't help but feel for her. And I was shocked when they showed some Democrats sitting there doing nothing. I think that was totally wrong. I think that's reprehensible. But politics is politics. So 845-1100 is a number. We're going to be here till 8:30, and then the Town of Dyer show comes on. But I'm also, wondering if we still have this basically perfect storm about the bear situation masking the issue of NIPSCO. But we've got full lines, so let's go to those callers. Good morning. We're on the air.
Go ahead. Yes, to talk about together kind of thing. It just so happens that this year that Ramadan, which is a big event for the Muslims, which they have to, a good Muslim is going to fast during the day. That started on a Tuesday, and on Wednesday was Ash Wednesday for the Christians, beginning the Lenten period. So we have two great religions of the world, Islam and Christianity. If they're the things that they recommend for people to engage in, very similar in terms of fasting and praying and being reflective and thinking about ways to improve your life. Have you ever tried the Aladdin Pita in Maryville. It's on Route 30.
No, I've not tried it. I do know of it, and it's something that I'd like to try. I actually, when I used to work downtown, we used to get pita salads. It was called Pita Pocket, and they were some of the best salads I've ever had. And so, something I'd like to try. I will tell you, Walt, that down here in Florida, there is a restaurant just a few blocks from me called Crepes, and it's a French restaurant, and they use crepes for everything. They use crepes kind of like pita is used in many respects. So it's kind of a neat approach. I had a pita, or I had a crepe, ham and ham salad the other day. It was a ham salad that was basically put in a pita and was very good.
Well, Aladdin Pita, they have a wonderful lunch special that is kind of a sampler of Muslim style food, which is, by the way, very healthy compared to Western food. There's no deep frying or anything like that. It's a wonderful price. But for Ramadan, in the evening at Aladdin Pita, they have their buffet, and it is a fantastic buffet. You don't have to be Muslim. They're happy to have business from people from many different backgrounds, and they do. It's another thing that got a lot of attention in the media was the two Polish places in Lake County. First, it's MJ Polish Deli in Calumet Avenue in Hammond. It's just about a mile north of the interstate, and it's next door to. It's called, I think, Dairy Maid, but it's very authentic. A number of years ago, I did a group tour of Central Europe, starting in Germany and ending in let me think.
Let me just say,
Hungary,
MJ Polish is great. MJ Polish
in any
is great.
case,
MJ
go
Polish
ahead.
is great food. It's outstanding cuisine. It's very accurate, very well done. Great food, and they've been a mainstay of Pierogi Fest for many years, and yeah, it's a great place to go to. We do have a couple of other callers, Walt, so we gotta kind of move back on schedule. So I apologize. 845-1100. We'll move to the next caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Tom, I since you allow me to call people call back, I just want to make this my final call. Thank you, appreciate it. Tom, people really don't know. You know how I got my training in the union? You know who was the Balanoff? You ever heard tell of Jim Balanoff? He was the president of Local 1010.
I knew Jim Balanoff I knew Jim very, very well. He was a personal friend of mine. Jim was a great guy.
I'm just saying, Don Lutz, the Don Lutz, and even MX. He know where I came up through the union, and I got my training. There was a lot of diversity there. There was diversity in the steel. I told this story once before. When I hired in at Inland Steel, they hired me in at the mold foundry. I said, okay. When I get out of the service, if I had to go back to the mold foundry, I would not go back. And reason for that being, and people gonna say, there you go again. There were basically black and Latins in that community. I said, I'm not going back there. So when I got back, I filed agreements through the union, and they say, well, okay, you could transfer. And I know MX say, oh, he's terrible. That was a good thing. That was not a good thing. They shut down the mold foundry and those dirty mold foundry and coke plants and stuff like that. It's people. Some of my friends who stayed there end up dying. So it was just about this, and I appreciate those people, and most of those people I was associated with was not African American. They were people who believed in having union, very good pay, and everything else. And if they gonna get on me because I was Jim Balanoff, Balanoff and Ed Sadowski. You probably heard of that name too. Those are the people that I came up with, and I became a good union representative, representing people, and I'm just so proud of that today.
Let me just jump in. Let me jump in and mention.
I move on because it's been good to me, and where I am today, it was because of diversity within where I work. Is there any diversity in the White House?
Let me just jump in and mention I knew Ed Sidlowski, but I really knew Jim Balanoff, and I knew Jim very, very well. And all I can say is, um, uh, when you talk about Balanoff knew how to create a presence in a room. When that guy walked in, everybody knew he was there. Correct? I mean, Ron, it didn't take long for people to know that Jim Balanoff was in a room. He was kind of boisterous. He was a big guy, and he let people know that he was there. No doubt about it, right?
Yes, yes. And so I appreciate that. And so when I hear people saying that, well, Ron, he's just one guy, I'm not. People, you need to talk to some union people that knew me through the union, and they'll tell you right now I represented people well. I could have been in Pittsburgh, where they wanted to send me to the International Union, and I said no, I don't want to go there. I want to leave this area, and I stayed
just
here.
Like with everybody else, we got some additional callers, so we gotta move on. I apologize. Hey, thanks so much. 845-1100. We've got an additional caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
What? Hello.
Yes,
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Go ahead. All right.
Hello.
He can hear you.
My name is Curtis.
Just go ahead. We're gonna have to disconnect. I don't think he realizes he's on the air, so we're gonna have to disconnect. Sorry about that. Curtis, you can call back, but there is a little bit of a delay this morning. We apologize, and I know that Ron and Walt, it's a little difficult for you guys to hear me as well, but we're doing the best we can. The delay is in the phone system, and we're trying to get it worked out, folks. So if the last caller wants to call back, realize we say, good morning, you're on the air. You got to go with it, and don't try and listen to the radio because there is a delay. So it's a little problematic to do talk radio when you have these delays. But as Lynette said, it's we moved to a different location, and that's what the cause is, and we're trying to figure out what the problem is. So 845-1100 is the number to call. And Ron brought up some people that I knew very well. I knew Sedlowski. I didn't know him that well, but I knew Jim Balanoff very well, and he was quite a character. He actually ran for Hammond City Council as a Hammond City Councilman for a while. But when I say a character, I don't mean that in a detrimental way. I mean a very positive way. He had kind of larger than life approach to things. He reminded me of Broderick Crawford from the movie All the King's Men. He was just kind of a bigger than life personality, and a fun guy to know, and got to know him very well over the years. So 845-1100 is the number to call. We've got callers again. Good morning, you're on the air. We apologize, there is a little bit of a delay this morning, and it's the phone system. So go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Tom. It's Chuck. We're testing live, so we've been troubleshooting this issue. I was just the last couple of days I've been calling in to hear what the callers hear, so we can better understand what the problem is.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a delay, I guess, because they're getting upset because I'm talking over them, and I'm having a hard time basically hearing them. It seems like there's about a 2-second delay. It's kind of like when you have a bad cell phone connection. Does that make sense to you?
It does, and I don't know what would have introduced that long of a delay, so we'll definitely look into it as soon as we can. But, again, it's not terrible. You just have to know not to talk over each other.
So, did you? I have to ask, Chuck. Did you watch the speech last night?
I did not. We were doing Bob After Dark live on WGOB last night, where we were talking about a big topic, a very, very important topic, the history of presidents and UFOs. So I was hoping to hear today that the President Trump had talked more about releasing the UFO files, but it doesn't sound like that was the case.
He never actually mentioned the files, but let me ask you. I mean, do you really think that you're going to find out a whole lot? I mean, is it going to be kind of a letdown after all these years, kind of like the JFK file and the Epstein files? Do you really think we're going to learn that much when they do release those files?
Well, that was the point that we discussed last night on the show, was when you have multiple presidents. I mean, most of the presidents going back to, Kennedy have asked about the files. I was watching some old clips of President Obama, President Clinton. They all said the same thing. I got into office and I said, okay, I want to find out about the aliens. I want to find out about Area 51. And guess what they told them? The CIA would always say the same thing. Well, it's need to know, and you don't need to know. And the same thing was happening in Congress with the UAP hearings, where they said, well, you're a congressman, you don't need to know, and we're not telling you. And so that really should make people question who's running the show if your Congress and your president are not allowed to know. And you mentioned the JFK files. You realize we still haven't declassified all the JFK files. We still haven't declassified 9/11 files. There's all sorts of files that the three-letter agency just refused to release. So, yes, you're right. President Trump or President Bush or Clinton or anybody saying, hey, release the files, they say, well, what are you going to do, make us? What are you going to do about it? You need to know, and you don't need to know. So you're right. I mean, and that really should make people question who's running the show there.
Here's my thought. My own thought is that most of the files that exist are probably going to show that a lot of it was just cover up of American technology. Basically, we used to we've admitted over the years that we used to plant stories about UFOs to hide the fact that we were testing new aviation technology, new equipment. And I think a lot of that comes down to we just basically created stories to keep people from saying, hey, there's a new spy plane, there's a new fighter jet. And I think a lot of that comes down to it. But I also believe that there are a couple of instances that are really hard to explain. And I'm not talking about Area 51. I think Area 51 has been way over dramatized and glorified. But I think there are some other experiences that are hard to explain, like the ones where the missile sites in the 1960s and 70s were basically overtaken and were under control of some other control. And I think those are the ones that I want to hear about. How about you?
Well, and not only that, I mean, there have been plenty of instances of UFOs over nuclear facilities, nuclear testing facilities. There are reports that the facilities were shut down at the same time that so there's all these stories by legitimate people. I mean, even going back to, we talked a little bit about the famous Tic Tac UFO that happened off the coast of California, where multiple Navy, ships detected it on radar. Fighter jets picked it up on camera. So again, there's something there. But to me, what's interesting is that the fact that our government has covered something up, whether it's technology or whether it's alien technology or our own technology, how much have they spent and what have they been doing? So that always becomes my question about why would our government cover this up, and who's deciding that I or you don't need to know about UFOs or JFK or et cetera. And so that's, to me, always the interesting part of this, is it always comes back to government covering something up. How much are you spending? There's conspiracy theories about, reverse engineering crashed UFOs and things like that. How much have you spent on that? There's just a lot of questions that they refuse to answer. And that should be the core of all of this, is who's deciding that a president, a Congress, or an American taxpayer doesn't need to know what they're spending our money on.
There's an interesting book, and I'm trying to remember the exact name of it. I think it might have been Wheels in the Sky. I know that's also a rock song, but there was a professor from University of Chicago that wrote a book about UFO sightings in history prior to the 1900s. And I read the book some years ago, and that was amazing, because he pointed out that seeing these orbs and seeing these lights in the sky and these amazing activities basically have existed all the way back to biblical times. and some of it was said, well, okay, that was, that was God, for example. But he points out that there were plenty of events that happened in the 1600s and 1700s and even 1800s that just couldn't be explained, where people saw this magnificent glowing object that hovered about and then moved back and forth in the sky and then all of a sudden shot up into space. And that sounds like a lot of modern descriptions of UFOs. And his point was these events have been going on for centuries, and they often get forgotten about. And you have to wonder, like, why is it that the same event that's been described from the 1600s and 1700s and 1800s and 1900s are still happening today? What's behind that? We're so advanced now. Why can't we explain what these events are?
But what's interesting is you exactly just described what happened in the Tic Tac UFO footage, where they were tracking an object and it just jumped tens of thousands of feet and went several miles within seconds, right? So, I mean, again, they captured that on camera. So, to your point, it's, the same story over and over again. Now we just have the technology to track it a little bit better. So, but, okay, so now we have a better idea what's going on with the phone lines. There's a little bit of a delay, and we just have to just don't talk over each other while we figure out, while we move over to the other system.
All right. Hey, thanks so much, Walt. Thanks so much,
okay,
Chuck.
You take care.
Take care. Sorry about that, Chuck, and sorry about that, Walt. To confuse you guys, I was actually looking for the name of that book, and of course, one of the names came up. I'm doing an Amazon search for the name of that book that I just mentioned because I think people should read it. And Walt comes up, but that's not the Walt that we're thinking of. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. It's the Morning Call on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM.
Before Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, we were being charged various maintenance fees and various check writing fees for all of our accounts. And with Notre Dame, we don't have that. We have that true community partnership. We get interest based on all of our parish and school accounts, and the interest rate is really second to none.
Have you ever considered becoming an iron worker? Local 395 is now accepting applications for their apprenticeship program. Go to ironworkers395.com. Look under the training section, click on apprenticeship, and scroll down to the application. You must be 18 years old, have a high school diploma or GED, and you must be physically able to perform the work of the trade. Find out more by calling the apprenticeship school in Lake Station at 219-962-7675 or visit ironworkers395.com.
Fishing for a seafood meal without the stress or mess of cooking? Leave the work to the Strachan Van Til Seafood Department. For just $1 extra per pound, we'll fry, grill, or steam your fish with your choice of 3 kinds of breading. Try our fish and seafood dinners. Each includes a half pound each of seafood and fries, and a quarter pound of coleslaw. Want the freshest catch in town? Reel in the fish and seafood selections from your local Strachan Van Til.
We're back, and I still can't find the name of that book. The professor that popped up that's not the book that I'm looking for. But there's an amazing series of stories about UFOs that go back all the way to biblical times. And what's amazing about it to me is that the description in each of these events is pretty much the same of what we still hear today. That there's this glowing orb that hovers and then takes off at tremendous speed and moves about the sky in just a unbelievable speed, and then all of a sudden stops and hovers again, and there's no noise. And to me, that's a story that you got to wonder. I mean, why is it that people have seen these same events for all these hundreds and hundreds of years? 845-1100, we've got additional callers. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing, Tom?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Tom, can you hear me?
Yes, look, we're having a problem with our phones today, so you need to talk, and there's about a 2-second delay, okay. So go ahead.
All right, well, you're talking about the State of the Union speech. I purposely did not watch it last night. Ever since this thing came out about Epstein, you've had 2 episodes now with Pam Bondi, that disgraceful show she put on a couple of weeks ago in front of Congress, refusing to answer any question, refusing even to admit she interviewed the victims of these animals that did these things to these women and children. And then to double up with Trump, evidently ordering all Republican congressmen to avoid going to the Oversight Committee meeting. And then I knew doggone well he wasn't going to mention that during the State of the Union. So as far as I'm concerned, and there was nobody a bigger Trump supporter than me, anybody that follows this guy now, I don't care who you are. If you're going to cover up for vicious pedophiles like this, you don't deserve the respect of the American people. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is.
I find the Epstein files to be very interesting. I think that, to be honest with you, I think it's one of those times where the Democratic Party got played by Trump. Everything that's been released so far shows that basically Trump didn't do anything significantly wrong. He did report Epstein, in fact, at one point to the police, said that he thought he was up to no good. The one woman who kind of broke the whole Epstein story, Virginia Giuffre, basically says Donald Trump was actually very good to her and was sympathetic and willing to listen to what she had to say when nobody else would. I'm not trying to make Donald Trump out to be a hero, but it doesn't look like he's done a lot wrong. Explaining why they can't release more information about the Epstein files is beyond me. I mean, you just saw that Prince Andrew got arrested. I think that there are a lot of despicable people that are in some very high places. I think Bill Gates is probably one of them. I don't really want to hear about Bill Gates and his contributions and what a good guy he is. After hearing from what has been released, why he isn't being actively investigated for a criminal complaint is beyond me. So I agree with you there, but I think that if you want to blame the whole Epstein situation, you be taking down most of Hollywood, you take down most of Congress, you take down a good portion of the government.
And it's worse than that, Tom, because not only did they do all of that, but Pam Bondi purposely, not only did she not follow the law that was actually enacted by two houses of Congress, but she, after she was told to redact the names of the victims and expose the names of the perps, she just the opposite. To this day, they're protecting the identities of these people, and the only reason we know any names at all is because of a bipartisan group of congressmen that went to the SCIF and then had to go on the floor of the Congress where they're protected to reveal the names of these people. To me, this just smacks that there's a super group above governments that they all kowtow to. Now, I don't know who Epstein worked for. Personally, I don't know if Trump is actually all that involved with the dirty business that was going on, but I always did suspect he was probably an agent of maybe CIA, Mossad, God knows what. But apparently it goes higher than that. Apparently it looks like there's a super group in this world that is above the law that feels that we are nothing but their toy animals to play it with however they want. And the fact that the President of the United States would cover up for these people just makes me lose all respect for them. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your politics are. If you're going to cover up for child murder and God knows what else, I got no use for it. I was the biggest Trump supporter there is, but I tell you what, anybody that's going to be impartial at all that's got to look at this and say a bunch of them are nothing. If they're going to do, if Trump is going to go down this road, I'm done. I'm done with him. Simple as that.
I'm not sure that I agree with you on your criticisms and your blame on Donald Trump any more than you can put that blame on Biden, Obama. I think they all knew. I think you're right that he probably was some sort of an agent for somebody. It may have been the Israeli intelligence. There was some connection between Jeffrey Epstein and some sort of spy agency. I agree with you there. But again, what I do find interesting is all these people who keep on posting on Facebook and social media about Donald Trump, and Epstein. The fact is that the files don't show a strong connection between Epstein and Trump. What they do show is a strong connection between Epstein and people like Bill Gates. It's probably the reason why Bill Gates got divorced, in fact, is what the files are showing. So I think, my concern is that you may be right. There may be a level of people who basically control things, who think they can get away with anything. And that really concerns me.
Go ahead.
That really concerns me. Go ahead.
Right, and the thing of it is, I think the evidence is, if you dig into this, and the alternative media is loaded with information on what's coming out of these files, and it's not good. I mean, this is the most. This is debauchery at the height of it. I mean, if people like this, and apparently this ruling class that's above everybody else, feels that we're nothing but play toys with them. And of course, there's a lot of evidence. This thing goes back a long, long way. But the fact that our political leaders refuse to expose these people tell me that they work for them. Simple as that. Those are their masters. That is who they have to kowtow to. The public be damned. They work for these people. Anything else, like you mentioned, this UFO thing, all that kind of stuff, as far as I'm concerned, is just malarkey to actually keep the public occupied with all this craziness, just so they don't focus on what's really going on here.
Well, isn't that the perfect example of what I said before when it comes to the Bears Stadium in NIPSCO? Isn't that what's going on right now? I mean, aren't we being fed a whole new story? Let's talk about the Bears. We're going to bring the Bears to Northwest Indiana, and the governor and the legislature, they're working together to do this. And they're glossing over the fact that there are people every single day who are sitting there wondering how they're going to either eat or pay their electricity bill. That's how bad things have become in Northwest Indiana. People should be outraged. They should be in the streets marching against what's going on. But all of a sudden, we come up with this ruse. Oh, let's talk about the Bears. Hey, we're going to bring the Bears to Northwest Indiana. Yeah, and nobody's going to be able to afford the tickets because their utility bills are so darn big. And again, we've done this for years and decades in this country. The political system is so smart because they come up with let's change the narrative. Let's change it from NIPSCO to the Bears. Okay, if the Bears locate in Hammond and you and I are literally going to be able to walk there, does that really make a whole lot of difference if we can't afford to buy the ticket because we're paying outrageous NIPSCO bills?
Well, yeah, you bring up a good point there. The media is complicit in this. That is the purpose of the media. It's not to inform; it's to actually manipulate the public, and that's what they're used for. I think that, and it's not just a Northwest Indiana thing. This is national, if not global. I mean, even when you look at this Epstein thing around overseas in other countries, it's taken a lot more seriously. They're trying to sweep it under the rug here. I don't know how long they can keep doing that, but it just shows that there's a class of individuals that probably go back God knows how long that feel that they run this world. Governments, people, elections mean nothing to them. They basically own the whole system, and this whole Epstein thing is a golden opportunity to expose all this and clean this rat's nest out. And the fact that the Trump administration is actually helping to obfuscate this shows me that they're no better than any of the rest of them are. It's a big game. It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene said, it's a big old boys club for Democrat, Republican. Like you say, it's another con job. Vote Democrat, vote Republican, and nothing changes, Tom.
I agree with you. Hey, thanks so much for the call. We're going to move on, and I apologize for the phone issue. 845-1100 is the number to call. We've got another caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dad.
Good morning.
Tommy.
I know. I recognize the voice. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. Listen, Tom, just so you know,
talk about
we have a little
as well. Give you my 2 cents on it.
Sure, we have a little delay. This morning with our phone system. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about NIPSCO and everything, and I think the most untalked about part of the speech is when Trump talked about how with the data centers and factories are now going to be allowed to just build their own power stations and have their own microgrids. And we're going to be completely separated from, housing and urban city centers. Municipalities are going to be separated from industry and data centers now, which I think is phenomenal.
So again, I mean, you're a resident of Northwest Indiana. You've heard you know firsthand because you also practice bankruptcy law. There are a lot of people who are really concerned about their NIPSCO bills, and that's a huge problem for people. And they're only going to get worse. They're not going to get better. And at the same time, you're a proponent of technology and AI and all that sort of thing. And of course, those data centers are necessary to advance our economy, our culture, and all the benefits that go with it. And there's been a real problem because those data centers use huge amounts of energy. And so, yeah, I thought that was interesting last night that Donald Trump said, let them generate their own electricity so that they don't basically tax the electrical grid. So go ahead.
Exactly. I mean, that's been a thing I've been really worried about where, if Hammond has to compete against Google for energy, we're going to get steamrolled. There's no competition. And I'd be very curious of looking where these data centers are going to get built. They're not getting built, near large city centers where, they have the money to fight them on those kind of things. They're getting built in small rural towns where they're going to get absolutely steamrolled. So I think that's the huge bonus where, look, yeah, have the data centers, build the data centers, but pay for your own electricity. Don't compete against us for it. And the water is going to be the next big issue.
Water, of course, positions communities like Hammond very, very well because Hammond sells water to so many communities, not just in Northwest Indiana, but at a very substantial markup in Illinois that people are willing to pay. And you're right, those data centers need to be cooled. And so you're talking about tremendous amounts of water. And that's why one of the data center sites that's worked so well is the old State Line Energy, because that site has its own intake permit to take up to 60 million gallons of water a day out of Lake Michigan to cool the computers, which makes it a very advantageous site for these data centers.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I thought that was one of kind of the most underrated parts of the speech that, there was a lot there, 2 hours long, but that was something that really caught my attention. So I thought that was really exciting. As far as the Bears go, I think the people we're getting, it might be a distraction. I think you might be right there, but regardless, we are getting pitted against ambitious politicians and a billionaire corporation and family. And we are going to get footed with the bill so that Mike Braun, if this does happen, Mike Braun's going to get, to say, look how pro-business Indiana is. We stole the Bears from Illinois, and then hide the skeletons of the fact that we're taking out debt, we're having more food taxes, and we're going to get shoved with the bill. And then he's going to go try to get elected to Senate or Congress, and then the McCaskies get a couple $1 billion to build a stadium that they don't need. And I honestly don't like Pritzker. I don't like any of his stances, but I applaud him for standing up to the McCaskies and saying, no, go shove it. And there's been numerous, there's an endless stack of economic studies that show stadiums do not lead to economic development. It's not true. It doesn't happen. It's a fallacy.
It really doesn't bring about a lot of economic development. I mean, look, you lived in Indianapolis for a while. You worked there. You worked literally down the street at Eli Lilly from the old from Lucas Oil Stadium, and that stadium was not the reason why there was development in downtown Indianapolis. Correct?
Absolutely no. I mean, look, it definitely adds to the culture. It's a center point. It adds a place for people to go and for there to be concerts and things to do. I'm not anti-stadium. But what I'm anti is a billionaire, like you said, a billionaire corporation, a billionaire family getting taxpayer dollars to run their business. You didn't get money to start your business. I don't get money to start a business in Indiana. So why do they get money? And they're the exact people who don't need those money. I mean, if the city wanted to, or the state said, look, we'll build you the stadium, no problem, but we've taken half the ticket sales, and the Bears have to sign a 100-year lease. Great, let's do it. That's a great deal. But this whole, we're going to get tax revenue from the ticket sales and the concession sales, and think all the restaurants and hotels we're going to have tax revenue from. It doesn't play out. It never has, and it never will. And we're going to get shoved with the bill, and that's it. That's what's going to happen.
Let me just throw this out because, Mark from Hobart texted me this morning and said, I see no benefit of additional food and beverage taxes on the people in Hobart and the businesses in Hobart if the Bears come to Hammond. They're actually talking about putting a food and beverage tax all the way over to Porter County. Now, you went to Valparaiso University as an undergrad. What benefit could you imagine the Bears having on Valparaiso? And you know Valparaiso because, again, you were a student there. How would they have any benefit of having a Bears stadium along Wolf Lake?
Well, I'll put it this way. The South Shore train runs all the way to Valparaiso and drops off right where the Bears Stadium at. And you know how many Valpo students go to Bears games or tailgates? 0. I've never, not once in my entire 4 years there, did I go to a Bears game. Did we go to a Bears tailgate? Nothing. So if you're telling me it's 20 minutes closer, no, Valpo gets no benefit out of that. If you wanted to go to the Bears games or go to concerts at Soldier Stadium, all that, you absolutely could. So it's a spot on point that you're not going to know what the only people who are going to benefit from this are the politicians who are going to be able to say, look how amazing we are. We brought the Bears to Indiana, and the McCaskey family. That's it. Those are the only people benefiting from this, and we're going to get shoved with the bill.
Yeah, and again, the McCaskey family,
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. The McCaskey family, again, the last thing we need is to pick up hold a tag day for the McCaskies.
Exactly. They're going to put $2 billion down, and then we get shoved with the rest of it. How many more power stations we could build with that and lower our actual cost of living, something that would actually drive economic development. But no, we're going to get bread and circuses.
As you said, it's great if the Bears come to Hammond. It's probably more likely just being used as leverage with the state of Illinois. But if they come to Hammond, we shouldn't have to pay the cost.
Absolutely. Or at the least play hardball. We own the people own the stadium. The state owns the stadium, and we just lease it to them to run it, or operate it. But don't let them own it and get money from it and get tax abatements and all this other benefits and then claim we're going to make it up on the back end from taking a % off the top. No, we want the whole thing. Don't give it to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Tom, thank you so much for the call. We are going to take a quick break. And great to have my own son call me. My namesake, just very proud of him. Again, folks, he's a local attorney now in Hammond, and great to have him as a caller. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the morning call. When we come back, we have about 15 minutes, so we'll see who the last caller of the day is. Stay tuned and call in.
It's gold rush time at Albert's. Oh, looky here! Oh, those are gonna fetch a pretty penny.
Who's gonna buy them from us?
I'll buy that gold from you.
What did you say?
I said I'll buy that gold from you, and I'll give you top dollar.
That sounds great.
It's gold rush time. We will see you at Albert's.
For over 140 years, the Central Midwest Carpenters have built our communities in Northwest Indiana. Are you ready to join the effort? We have long-term work, competitive pay, and the best benefits in the industry. We pride ourselves on innovative training and commitment to worksite safety. Earn as you learn as an apprentice. A solid career built on a solid legacy. For more info, go to carpenters.com.
Are you searching for a college where you belong? Calumet College of St. Joseph wants to know you and give you the support you need to succeed. Are you worried about how you'll pay for your degree? 95% of our students receive financial aid, including scholarships and grants. Need some extra help with your classes? You'll benefit from our small class sizes, free tutoring, internship planning, faculty mentors, and so much more. Come experience our accepting, supportive college family for yourself. Schedule your campus visit and apply at ccsj.edu.
If you're thinking of finishing your basement, installing outdoor security cameras, or your business has plans to break ground on a new project in 2024, Powering Indiana, Lake County is your source for the region's best electricians. With IBEW, Local 697 electricians, you're choosing the highest level of safety and reliability. Visit poweringindiana.org today and ensure your project is in the hands of skilled professionals.
Right, folks, and we're back, and yeah, it was kind of fun. That's always fun to talk to my son. I talk to him regularly anyway, but he's got an opinion, and I think he's right on. The idea that people are going to take the South Shore to come to Hammond to go to the Bears Stadium from Valparaiso is about the same number that they did when he was a student at Valparaiso University. So, again, support the move of the Bears to Northwest Indiana. But let's not fund the McCaskey family in doing so. 845-1100 is the number to call. We've got callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Oh, good morning, Tom. It's Brad. How are you?
I'm doing fine. There is a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to apologize. But go ahead.
Oh, no reason to apologize. I'm sure something was fiddling with the dials again. But you had a caller one or two before. He is on the absolute right track. If you really want to know, you will find out, and you will be able to look. There is a cabal of multiple groups that answer to each other and run this place that are well above government. Some of them are military. The CIA, they're kind of minor leagues compared to what these guys are going on. And I'll explain it in a little bit more detail, but what they give us, the Republicans and Democrats, is a long-standing process of elimination in a way where it's called the Hegelian dialectic. And if people look that up, Hegalian, dialectic, dialetic. Basically, they have formed us for years and years and generations to pick one side or the other. And the person in the middle is the absolute outcast or the conspiracy theorist or the bumbling idiot of the town or what your town crier that never gets any credit. And that is basically what has happened here. And while they do that and work all together, because that's what they do. If you think about it, if you had a conglomerate of people that had a great deal of wealth, you would spend your entire time trying to figure out how to retain that wealth. And one way to retain that wealth is to keep the public in complete shambles as to what's really going on. Like, for example, when you were mentioning UFOs, at this point in time, I don't even know if I can believe that. I'm starting to come to the belief that there's more land, there's more resources. I mean, even if you did go with a differing opinion on what the shape of the Earth is, because that's a really, really popular conversation, you could still hide land. I mean, you could literally, they rewrite the textbooks all day long. So there could be places all over. I mean, you see people on Google Maps and things always finding something new, right, that nobody ever really knew about. So if you had more land and you had more resources and you kept it a secret, you would have people like us continuously fighting over those resources. And if you knew how many people were fighting over them in real time, what would you do? If you had a ton of money, you'd profit off of that. And that's what they do because they create the illusion of scarcity. And that's what we're always fighting over, high prices for fuel, high prices for food. And when you create that scarcity, it just becomes too easy. And you can almost condition the people because it's almost as they're abusing us. Because the media that they are rolling with, and they're all going to be complicit. And see, that's what's coming out here. That's what they're trying to make sure happens under their terms. Because they always have to have some kind of hero, whether you go all the way back to Jesus Christ, to Kennedy, to some general, to some guy like Trump. They always have to have a hero when it comes to human nature acceptance. And that's what they're doing. They are bamboozling us in the media. I mean, how many times have I called? How many times have other people called and said, you know what, I'm questioning my media. I feel like I'm being lied to. And they know that it is off the charts. So when people, like Griffith or some other people in certain towns will say, hey, Biden's great or Trump's great. And it's like, I don't believe that they weren't working on the same team. I mean, you and I wouldn't let this stuff go. You and I would be in there as generals saying, hey, I need an army behind me here. I'm not going to let anybody bamboozle me anymore. What is going on? But instead we get trickles of information to do nothing but confuse us. Yes.
So Brad, I think that there is a group of people who clearly there was a social experiment that occurred, and I hate to say this, but I think part of the social experiment was our whole response to COVID, and then it continued right through the last administration. I think that the idea that we were going to socially re-engineer our society proved to be a failure. I hope what you're saying. I hope what Chuck was saying earlier, that that there's basically this group that's kind of hiding everything from the public and hiding it even from our leaders. I hope that you're all wrong. But I have to say, after I look back at COVID, I begin to wonder if there isn't a lot of truth to these allegations. I mean, for years I dismissed them and said, oh, come on, there's not this giant conspiracy. There can't be. And then I look at COVID, and I was sitting in church last Sunday, in fact, thinking about the fact that, just 4 years ago, I couldn't sit in church or 5 years ago, I couldn't sit in church because the government said it was too dangerous for us to even go to celebrate, mass, or to go to Sunday services, depending on your religion. And I thought about the fact that how absolutely impossible that would have been to happen in my lifetime, but it happened. And it just makes you wonder. And now you find out that most of the stuff that we were told about COVID was wrong, that we weren't saving lives. It was just some crazy crackpot idea. Oh, let's keep everybody 6 feet away. Oh, let's cancel church. And everybody was complicit, including the Catholic Church, by the way. I mean, they voluntarily canceled church. We had people who were just kind of like beyond themselves when we started this mass hysteria. And the fact is that a lot of the claims and a lot of things that we did were, to me, it almost seems like it was an experiment on how we could re-engineer society in the process. We could get people to start following all the directives of society, and we could show how gullible people were. To me, it almost seems like it was this giant experiment.
I believe it is, and I believe it was a preparation for the coming currency reset. And that's what's going on in Mexico right now. They want you to believe, in my opinion, I think this is an absolute fabrication, and they're going to pull this kind of stuff here when our money starts to change over, and it's going to be happening in Europe, and that's how they do it. They create an order out of chaos. If you remember that phrase, order out of chaos, and you search it on the Internet, it will lead you more than likely to who is these nefarious groups, and they go back generations. They are not, they're bloodline types of societies. They set us up to figure out who wouldn't comply, who wouldn't stand in a line, what could they do with food shortages in case the currency collapse, or the reset to different currency goes in. Because I believe it's going to come in September, but it's already in effect. But like the absolute deadline is that all transactions in the banking system have to be tracked. And the only way you can do that is to eliminate cash. The Bank of International Settlements is calling for it. The Federal Reserve is Fed now. That's why they're changing it. All this, and I believe, and I think I'm going to really bet my money on it. So Griffith, you can bring what you got, because I'm going to bet that the entire COVID was nothing but a setup and a test run to see what will happen when the currency change is over. How many people will stand in line? How many people are going to walk and get the free phone so they can get their free money on the new digital dollar? Whether that's not the Fed dollar, it's going to be a competition of money, because the people wouldn't fall for the one world currency. Remember that one. They pitched that for years, and you hear it among conspiracy circles, but in reality, nobody would fall for that. We need the illusion of choice. But all of it goes back, and it's all going to be a recorded tax system and everything. And we're going through it right now. And I believe Mexico had to do some things. I still have to look into it, and I'll get into it on the next call. But I got to run, and I just want to let you know I appreciate you always keeping the topics open here and always keeping everything on the table, because that's the one thing that they want us to do is divide by red and blue. And if we're divided, we'll never be. There's strength in numbers, people. So you got to step back. And that's the other thing, real quick, and I'll let you go. Everybody complaining about these Epstein files that Trump is in them. Why is nobody focusing on all the other people in them? I mean, it's just loaded with people that are on the Democratic side and the Republican side. Why is it always Trump? I don't get it. He's not my hero, because I'm against him and what he's done for cryptocurrency, and he's cost us a lot of money out here, our tech guys. He needs to be focusing on H-1B visas. It's an epidemic. It's happened with nurses, doctors. They've been caught all over the United States, not even having degrees. It has gotten to the point where I have to go apply for work as an American, so they will interview me first, because the law states if an American doesn't apply, the Indian or someone on an H-1 visa gets the interview in the job.
Brad, thanks so much. We got one more caller, and we got to move on. Thank you so much. All right, we'll go on to that last caller, and I apologize to everybody about the phone system, but Chuck is working on it. We're trying to resolve the problems, but we have one last caller. Let's get to that caller. Good morning. You are the last caller of the day.
Well, lucky Brad Gimble, it's his hero from Griffith. Listen, Bradley was going to make me a bet, because I think a week ago on the air he said that the U.S. dollar and the currency was going to be yanked, and it was going to go straight digital, and he said by April 1st. Now, I assume he meant April 1st of 2026, but I know how Brad Gimble deals. It's April 1st of 2026, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31, all the way to like about 30. So Brad Gimble's, in terms of the prediction market, not so accurate. But hey,
right,
regarding
so move on, because you only got a couple of minutes.
What's that?
I said you got to move on though, because we only have a couple of minutes to get to your point.
Oh, well, my point was first to rip Brad Gimble for his inaccuracies. Regarding your son being on the phone there, it was very interesting because his voice sounded very similar to the guest Chuck had on Monday, a guy named Rob Kendall from Indianapolis. And he was virtually of the same opinion and almost laid out some of the same things your son had said, regarding the Bears Stadium coming. I mean, in all honesty, how funny would it be to see the Bears ripped from Illinois? On the other hand, it's going to be an expensive joke if we took them. So, yeah, I'm against it. Hey, all you guys who want to take that South Shore, remember the people, Tom, back in the day when they wanted to run the South Shore down to Indy, and they go, yeah, you can take the South Shore to the Blackhawks game. Hey, sweetie, no, you can't. Liberalism and Democrats. Just push them right into the ocean.
Just
nice
just
show,
a
Tom.
clarification. Just a quick clarification. They weren't going to run the South Shore from Indianapolis. That was going to be a different plan. I always thought that it made some sense, actually, if we could have high speed rail between cities 100 to 150 miles away. So I thought that actually the idea of running a high speed rail between Chicago and Indianapolis would make sense. But it was fun.
Who the hell will ride
it?
They don't ride the one that's there now. There's a train that goes to Indy. No one took it. They got rid of it.
Well, because it took so long. If you ever took that train, it took like 7 hours. That was the problem. I mean, you could walk to Indianapolis for the time that it took to take the Amtrak. That was the problem with it.
Well, either way, what are you going to do when you get to Indy? You find a cab, going to take spend $300 in Uber? No, you're going to get in your car and drive down there like America does. That's how we roll, babe.
I agree. The idea that we're going to eliminate cars and the love of Americans with their automobiles is just plain stupid. And again, it's more of this idea of we're going to try and control. We're going to try and control. society, and society is not going to give up their cars. That's for sure. So I agree with you on that. Hey, thanks so much. You are the last caller of the day, Mad Max. So there you go. You won the award. You don't win anything special, but you win the title, last caller of the day. So thanks so much for the call. Hey, it's been great, folks, being here with you this morning. Sorry about the problems we're having with the phone system. Again, you heard Chuck say they're working on it. We're trying to figure out what's going on. So I do apologize. I know it's a little frustrating at times to listen and you're on the phone with me and you're trying to talk, and at the same time I'm talking, and truly apologize because I don't want to talk over people, but we'll get it worked out. Hopefully by next week, and keep it tuned here all day, all week to WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, and we'll see you next Wednesday morning, beginning at 6 a.m. on the morning call. Take care, folks.